Two quick things before we get into the chapter itself. One is, I gotta say, Volume 3, Chainsaw Man, every single cover looks beautiful. They're very simplistic in the overall layout, a character, and they're, in some form of pose. There's not a bunch of characters and a bunch of, crazy aspects to it. It's just giving you a small hint of what's to come. I did actually like what is, I think, mint leaves in the background, which is probably a reference to Jimeno smoking. I don't know if she smoked menthols. I don't know about that. I'd have to go back and look, but maybe a possible little kind of like personal character aspect of her. But anyway, going towards the second thing I wanted to say, just because I thought it was really funny. It happened a day ago, but I didn't see it until right before I read this chapter. And so it's like somebody on Twitter who was like talking about, it was something about like, oh, I bet you guys wouldn't hate Sakura if she was a guy, and all you anime fans secretly are just a bunch of women haters. And I was just like, no, I don't think that's the case. And then got to this chapter, and I think this chapter, it was just such a straight, like, step-by-step of proving, like, no, I can't. My care is not if the character is male or female. My care is if the character is awesome or not, or at least good in their own right. Sakura sucked, and she's an awful character. I mean, I had to go back and look. I think it was an interview where Kishimoto just like he straight up said like, yeah, I don't really know what I was doing with Sakura. I didn't know what to write about her. Like, he didn't really even care about her. But Makima in this chapter, god fucking damn, if this is one of those videos where you're like, I don't know if I've read Chainsaw Man, but let me find out what it's like by clicking this video. I would say skip ahead probably a couple minutes because I'm going to talk about Makima, and Makima legitimately, I think, is like one of those characters who, if you saw just like some scenes with her, you would get into the series. She's just one of those characters. Like, I think with Black Clover, a lot of people got into the anime when they saw the fight with Yami and licked back in, well, licked at the time as by name, during that cave arc. And I think that was just one of those parts where like, god damn, that looks really crazy, I'm gonna go check it out. And then they got into it and they liked it. Makima is very similar to that. So let me get to, again, like the start of the chapter. Start of the chapter, you had Kurose and Tendo, and they're talking to Aki, and they're just kind of discussing with him, like they're going back to Kyoto soon, and they're kind of giving him a hard time. You have to keep in mind with them, they're much more experienced and seasoned devil hunters, and Aki, he seems fairly strong. I guess we don't know like the overall rankings or like how many characters are in total that like are above and below him in terms of strength. But they're like discussing with him because he's, he was going after the gun devil. That's what he's known to be doing. He wants to kill this guy. And this is maybe not the top devil in the world. We don't know, again, other devils. He's at least the biggest one that we know of. And we know for a fact that he's just a big deal in general. And to them, they're like, you're kind of like shooting pretty high up there, because it's not like again, I'm gonna do a Black Clover reference real quick. It's not like Asta becoming the Wizard King, because that's more of an accomplishment thing. I mean, you gotta earn enough, kind of like you gotta get enough credit, enough accomplishments. You gotta be strong enough. And with the Gun Devil, it's more like you're saying, I'm gonna defeat a legend. You're not saying I'm gonna get to this level of of a status. It's, I'm gonna kill this guy that nobody seems to know where he is, and no one seems to know like the extent of the power. No one even seems to know what the Gun Devil even looks like. It's just the Gun Devil is this absurdly powerful creature that in a span of a few minutes killed like millions around the world. And then even bring up like he lost to a guy who only killed 20 people in the special division, and yet he wants to go after the Gun Devil. Again, that's like being like, hey, I beat up this dude on the playground. I'm gonna go be a UFC fighter, and I'm gonna go beat, I don't know UFC fighters, so some big UFC fighter. But it's just like you're jumping the gun. You got your head a little bit too high up there, dude. But Aki's like listening to them as they're just kind of like talking about it, and he's just like, you know what? I don't give a shit. I don't care what you guys have to say. Your guys' belief in what I'm gonna do is in no way gonna affect me, and I'm going to keep striving for it, and you guys can either watch. Either I'm going to die along the way, or I'm going to succeed. And I like that about Aki. Aki, I think, is very interesting over... So far in the series, like, we've got some really interesting characters. Power is cool because she's not like, I think, any other female lead in Shonen. She's very different. Denji Denji's very much a blank slate. He's already got some interesting aspects to his character, like his whole thing about not wanting to be in debt to people because of the whole thing with his dad, but also his like questioning right now if he's losing his humanity. Makima in general is just again an eye. What would I say? Like eye magnet? I don't know. And not even like a sexual way. It's more in like a, what is she doing? Is she around? Like, it's spooky. Aki is already very deeply written. There's a lot to him. There's already a lot to his character, which I really like. You got a really good mix and contrast between each of the characters. And even here, like when you have all these guys like shitting on his dream and saying all this, it's not like a depressing moment. It's not like he's like riled up. I'm going to show you guys. It's just like I don't care. Mind your own fucking business. I'm going to do what I do, and you guys do what you do. We'll see how it goes. And when he steps out, the guys are just like, all right, you're pissing me off, but we'll cheer you on. You know, they can appreciate his determination, if anything. You know, and that's where the chapter gets crazy. So, you know, if you're still like, if you skipped over the point where I said, you know, if you want to see a little bit into the series and like what exactly this is special about this panel that I picked for the chapter over like that really good looking color spread at the start, it's that Makima in so many ways gives me vibes of Sosuke Aizen from Bleach. And there's obviously a lot of memes about Aizen, but there's one thing about him is that he always felt like he had a plan going on. There's always something about him that you're like, he's got a scheme. It doesn't matter if a character is coming up behind him with like their own plans and all these characters are grouping him. They're like, okay, we got all these combos. We're gonna you had this feeling, it's like Aizen's probably thought of this. And Makima seems to be that way. So again, if you skipped over the first part, you just wanted to get what I was talking about when I said like this is a part that would get you into the series, just seeing this scene. Right here, if you're at this point. So Makima, she's trying to figure out essentially who was behind like all this stuff going on with the you know, the terrorist attack with the people associated with the Gun Devil. She obviously, you know, there's some hints that she knew what was going down and she let it go down, possibly to further her career, gain more influence. Again, a very, very like puppet master, like complete and total like control over the game. Character move, again, very spooky. You know, you can tell that she's more about her goal and her scheme rather than you know, probably saving lives, or maybe she's looking at the big picture and like lives will be lost along the way, but in all, you know, things will work out in the end. Who knows? But she's talking to this Yakuza guy, and she wants to get the names of the people that were involved. And she's talking to these guys. It's just her. She showed up alone. You have all these Yakuza members, like, all around, like, the couch she's sitting in, the boss. And you can tell they're trying to intimidate her. They've encircled her. It actually kind of looks like that that meme with the chick on the couch with that. Actually, is it 6 dudes, those 6 black guys, and then that little petite white girl on the couch? I mean, these are all Asian characters, they're all Japanese, but still, like, I'm wondering if that has any way to do with the meme. But they're like talking, and she's like, yeah, I need to know what you know, essentially. And he's like, the accused boss is like, yeah, some of our guys went in a shooting spree in Tokyo. I'll answer what I can, but you know, I want you to understand this is not on my orders. I'm not gonna let you just control me and like go about it. And essentially, they traded some money for some guns, and they, you know, they're just doing like at that point kind of general criminal activities in some ways, and obviously got a little bit out of hand. But he's like, oh yeah, I'll give you the names of those people, and then, you know, they can go to prison, reflect on what they've done. Ha ha ha. They're not taking her seriously. This guy does not take Makima seriously. And when I talked about it earlier in the video, I said like it was just a post on Twitter. It's not like a big deal. It was like a person being like, oh, you don't like female characters just because you guys didn't like soccer. No. And this was one of those parts where I knew, even like without me trying to think of like, I'll prove you wrong, it was just like natural of like, no, that's not true. Because as this was happening, and I saw these guys, this Yakuza boss, not taking Makima seriously, and I'm just like, oh god, this idiot, what is this guy doing? He has no idea what he's getting into. He is disrespecting the wrong woman right now. She's about to fuck him up. And it went worse than what I thought was gonna happen. It actually got more severe. Like, I was expecting like her to start splattering people in the room, but it was a lesser degree of gore and more of a display of just her being an absolute savage and not giving a fuck what she has to do to get things done. So as they're discussing it, he's like, okay, yeah, I'll give you the names. And she's like, no, I also want the names of the people that were from both groups. I want literally everybody involved that you know of. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? And he's talking about essentially like, well, you have to keep in mind that we're a necessary evil. You know, if we went around taking out other mobs, you know, other members of other Yakuza groups, then just other mafia groups would come into Japan. Like, they're like, we have to stay spread out and keep like our own criminal influence so others don't come in. You know, they're what is it? I don't know. I guess necessary evil is the best one. There was another one that I was trying to use, but I literally forgot as I was about to say it. But you know, as that idea is, he's like, we're not going to let the Russians or the Chinese come in because, you know, they do worse things than we do, and at least we're in control because we actually care about Japan and you know, all that stuff. They're like, we do what we have to in order for the greater good, essentially. You know, they're a dangerous protector in some ways. And during that, it's like, you're explaining yourself in a way that you could make sense out of it. Again, a necessary evil. That's like one of those things that is just like, it's unfortunate, but it's part of it. Like, I get where this guy's coming from in his logic, but at this next part, I knew he was fucked. I knew this guy was fucked at this point. He's like, I guess it's normal you guys would understand that you devil hunters are a bunch of uneducated morons. And I knew it wasn't going to go bad. I knew it wasn't going to go good. Makima takes out a bag and hands it to him, and he's like, you're not going to buy us out with like a small bag of money. And she's like, it's not money. It's every single person in this room. It's something part of them, whether it's your dad, your moms, your grandparents, brothers, sisters, lovers, wives, children, whatever. And their eyeballs. And he opens it, and it's literally their eyes. She's had them gouge out eyes of these different family members, of these Yakuza members, and presented them to her. And she's just like, listen, I want you to know that that with someone in the bureau capable of fixing this, but only if you're going to cooperate. So she's just like, this doesn't have to be a permanent thing, but if you want to fuck with me, I will end everything that you care about, and there will be absolutely zero regret on my part. And at the same time, I'm just like, she is legitimately terrifying. It's so weird, because this is a series full of crazy monsters, and I still theorize that she is a hybrid, kind of like Denji and the Yakuza dude. But as of right now, she's just a human, and yet she's the most terrifying member out of the cast, and she gives chills. She legitimately just gives dangerous villain vibe. You don't want to fuck with her. I mean, if she's capable of planning a meeting with someone, deducing who's going to be there, and then gouging out eyeballs of all of their loved ones, and being like, this could go good for you, or this could go extremely bad. But either way, I'm going to get what I fucking want. And I'm just like, no, everyone should back off. And then one of the guys goes to try and punch her, and literally she does this glance. The one that I'm using this panel, she glances over at him, and his nose starts to bleed, and blood just starts rushing out of his eyes, his nose, his mouth. He drops to his knees, and it looks like this guy's fucked. And she's just like, you guys talk about necessary evil just to justify the things you do. We have no need for what you do. And the only thing that we need is to keep the evils on, what is it? She says, like, the nation regularly takes necessary evils and keeps them on a short leash. She's probably talking about, you know, the devil's under control. She's more of like, if you guys did what you did, you would be much more under the control over the government. You'd be much more under control of people trying to, you know, keep the country in check rather than just become your own freelance groups. Which I get where she's coming from. Again, she's not someone you want to mess with. She is fucking crazy. It's so absurd. And it's been such a wild kind of like setup, because like the last generation of big weekly Shonen Jump manga, they've had a lot of like, their female characters weren't too much to notice. Like, again, Naruto, especially Naruto, One Piece, you had a little bit in Bleach, but not too many in Bleach. Toriko, Dragon Ball, you throw a rock in them. I mean, again, also like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Has some, but still, Yu-Gi-Oh's kind of like Bleach. There's a couple female characters that are like, you know, pretty solid. But for the most part, they're just like, they're much more male-y, because obviously Shonen is directed more towards men. They're female readers, but they read it because they like the way that it's already formatted. They don't need it to be like crazy format changed to be female like directed. They're like, no, this is the audience we're shooting. Anybody else, you know, is welcome to join. And there's been a lot of new series, like you know, I mentioned earlier, Black Clover. My Hero Academia is kind of like in that area, but like similar. It's kind of like between like the older ones, like Naruto and One Piece stuff, and like Bleach, where they've got potential, but they don't have a lot of solid female characters yet. But I think there will be in the long run. They're obviously way more focused on like Deku, Todoroki, Bakugo, and whatnot, and now Tamura, luckily. But there's also stuff like Black Clover, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Kimetsu no Yaiba. They've got a lot of strong female characters, which is cool because it's not like I'm not one of those guys that'd be like, oh, we need female representation. But it is frustrating when you see like a series and it's like you get like a cool character, but you know that like it's like again something like Naruto. It's like, what was it, Mei? What is her name? Mei. I can't remember her last name. In Naruto, the lava chick. She was one of the Kages. I really liked her design, but like when I got to her, I was just like, damn it, this is Naruto. She's not gonna probably do anything, and she did a little bit, but not too much. Chainsaw Man is one of those new ones where it's just like, nope. And everyone that might not die in every chapter is going to be useful and relevant. And Makima so far is the most vicious. And you literally have a main character who just chainsaws coming out of his arms and head. The female lead literally manipulates blood and is pretty much like borderline like a Neanderthal in some ways. And they're not even close to Makima. Makima is by far the most brutal and savage person in that whole crew. But now they're getting ready, as the chapter starts, it's about the beginning of this operation to fight this group. They're just like, we're just going to get every single member of the special division in this building. We're going to rush them all in. And then the last one, the enemy group has all their zombies ready for that. And obviously zombies are a dangerous creature about numbers. And I feel bad because there's going to be some fodder. Because you keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of fodder characters. And any fodder character that gets bit, bam, zombie. And we don't know if they're going to keep their powers also when they become zombies. Anyway, I've been rambling on a little bit. We're almost at 17 minutes. And it's a lot longer than normal because Makima alone had me so hyped for this chapter. Because it was such a like slow oncoming like disaster of just like reading that part where they were all just like treating her like she was some idiot who wasn't going to do anything. And I'm just like, I wish they knew who they were messing with, because they would have buckled and just done what she wanted, and she would have walked away and everything would have been good, and she would have just been like, without ever them knowing about the eyeballs thing, she would have went back to the person and be like, hey, fix this. They cooperated. But now she just like, I want you guys to know that you need to be afraid of me. Not you should, you need to, because otherwise you're going to die and you're not going to know why. Anyway, check out Chainsaw Man. It's so good. It's got a lot to it already. It's only about like 8 months old, a little under 8 months, and like it's got a good action. Like I've seen people complain about like some of the art style. Fujimoto definitely spends more time on like the monster designs and stuff. Like you can tell, like literally just look at any of the devils and stuff. He spends a lot more time than the people. It's where more of his passion lies. But as long as he's able to keep the story up like this, and I'm perfectly fine. I love the tone of it. I can love other series again like Black Clover, where it's very, very like deep-rooted core shonen, like very core shonen, and then Chainsaw Man, where it's like, how the living shit is this classified as shonen and in the biggest shonen jump magazine in the world? But anyway, comment below and thumbs up the video. I'd really appreciate if you friend the like button and subscribe button and check out my other videos. I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.